And yeah, YouTube is doing it. I'm kind of
All right.
shocked. Between YouTube, OBS, and Zoom, I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on here. Okay, I like it. All right, not bad at all. And I got the chat here. I'm probably gonna just have the chat over here and just
Okay,
that
cool.
way I can just avoid that drama with the uh
Yeah, man. Whatever. If whatever they say, like let it rip. I'm not gonna do a Jack Murphy heartfelt fuck you. But that's the
no,
fun of it is the chat.
I think the mindset of people. Good morning, brother. Good morning, Andy Mac. I think the mindset of people is wrong when they go on to interviews like what happened to him. For him, I
Yeah.
feel like it was just he definitely didn't prepare. He didn't know what kind of stream he was going on. He didn't do his
Yeah.
background because if you look back, you would see that they did ask, pretty intense questions. I mean, some of the questions they've asked is like everything that's history related, like of the
And it
person's
was a
life.
super chat. It's like the super chats are gonna say the wackiest stuff because they're
Yep,
paying money for it.
yep, and they're gonna read it. They're gonna
And they're
read
gonna
it.
read it. Yeah, that's the game.
That's the.
That's the game.
Well, anyways, perfect. Welcome, welcome, faithful watchers and listeners. Thank you so much for attending tonight's or today's stream this holiday weekend. Much appreciated. If you're new, welcome to the ZolYin podcast. Where we talk about books, brands, and blockchains. But today we have a special edition, an interview with the mysterious, the enigmatic, the magical Tom Bombadil. Okay, welcome, Tom. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you for coming over here and taking a time out of your day to having this conversation with me. Little interview going on here. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm very flattered by that introduction, sir. That's like amazing introduction. That really makes me feel good. I'm doing good. I'm in Orlando, Florida right now.
Hey, I love it. It's sunny,
Yeah,
sunny times, warm. What's the temperature like?
it's like 80 degrees.
80 degrees. Perfect. Love it.
Yeah,
And,
perfect. Love it.
folks, if you guys can hear Tom, just let me know. Just put a one in the chat if you can hear Tom, just to make sure the audio is, just to make sure the Zoom isn't rug pulling me. I did one test yesterday. Everything seemed good after the crash. I did not do the test. It was prior to the crash. Okay, so it's been good. Hope you did as well. Looks like Aleph is hearing. Ah, good. I was hoping I would get a one. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So there's a lot. There's a lot on this. There's a lot today, but we're gonna just keep it as organic and as we're gonna keep it as organic and as concise as possible. Try not to jam pack too much in case you ever want to come back. We'll have some overflow for next time. Whatever works. I think it's gonna be a fun time, especially the chat, because the chat will definitely the chat's gonna be fun. These guys
Yes.
are great guys. I listen, my chat. I love these guys. These guys are, pause. These guys are great guys, though. They really are. They have always, insightful questions, insightful information, something to, further along the conversation and to, basically, I always learn something new. When I do my own stream, I'm like, how did I do this stream and come out learning stuff? How did that work? I don't know, but that's the magic of this YouTube stuff.
I seen Lawrence in your chat. I
Yeah,
like Lawrence.
yeah, Lawrence has been in my chat. He's a pretty good guy. I like him. A lot of the people. Shout out to Logic C. You see, he can't even say some words anymore.
Oh, C Logic, sir.
C Logic is a great guy. Suleiman, great guy. Aleph, wonderful man. Andy Mack, wonderful man. Look at Corey's here too. Wow, this is crazy. We got everybody here. Love it. Marcus, shout out to Marcus. All right, so let's start from the beginning. I like to kind of give a kind of almost like a storybook kind of thing. Ironically, because your name is Tom Bombadil, almost like a
Mhm.
storybook thing. Because I'm a writer, so I like to do the background and just kind of begin from where you came from. Where when you began this journey from going into this whole manosphere and the shadow world, the whatever, the marketplace. When you started
Yeah.
this whole thing, what led you to get here? Like, what was your journey like coming here? What started your journey into this place in YouTube? This, because everyone's got an
Yeah.
origin story. So what was yours?
It was God.
Okay. Okay. So it was God that kind of began your journey to getting into this area. Did you when you came from when you came into this environment, did you have any sort of like did you have any like expectation of what you were trying to get? What you're trying to learn? Was there something specifically that you were trying to advance in your life? What was a goal for you when you came into this whole place?
I came kind of a big motivation was like a Christian missionary. Like I was really into apologetics in university and my degrees in religion from Florida. So I was coming to like form an apologetic, and I wanted to argue. I can argue. So the internet just went through like the atheist phase of things. The atheist phase, like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, all these people. Okay, and then I saw that people are not happy with just these bookworm debates. People want something that touches their lives. And I noticed that in this sphere, there's a lot of people who came from church backgrounds. And this, like, Rollo eventually addresses this in book 4 too, right? So I'm not the only one that saw that. But I kind of came to preach at people, but I think it like changed me too. I think there's like a lot of truths being spoken here in this space that they're not going to tell you in church, or anywhere, right? Like this is kind of an oasis of like hidden treasures and truths. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Coming as a person also, growing up religious as well, you got like a lot of, it's like there's like the difference between the idea and then there's the practice of actually what's happening in the world. I did notice that as far as like, the book, what the good book says versus what you're actually witnessing in the world. The whole truths thing, it's an eye opener. For you, what was your eye opening moment like that kind of got you to go, something's going on here and I need to figure out what it is?
No, because I was going to churches, and people were fucking, like fucking the pastor. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse.
That's fine. We are fine, my friend. Go ahead.
Is that all right? So, but it was like that strong of a reaction, to see that. And I was practicing chastity, abstinence, whatever. Like I was a virgin until 29. And then and then I was also NoFap, and all these things as well. So I had a lot of like pent up energy there to go explore these topics. And I started to see that like it wasn't so black and white. And that there's like different sets of rules that are operating at all times, and do you know what those sets of rules are? And I was trying to understand these sets of rules because, I could tell like I was getting gypped in a way. I was like, I'm getting gypped and I don't want to get gypped. I want, I want it all. What's this thing that's being hidden from me?
Right. It's kind of crazy how a lot of these truths, a lot of what we learn, it's always interesting to me how a lot of what we learned in the the hard way, basically, a lot of what we learned or rather growing up, we also learned like we learned the harsh truths the hardest way possible, where we see things happening that don't coincide with what we're learning. Even in money, the whole concept of money. And I didn't even know, for example, for me, I didn't even know that we were printing the dollar like insanely until I was in college and I was researching like, oh, let's find out where money came from and all that stuff as a side project. And that kind of like woke me up to the whole like, wait a minute, that's why my dollar goes down every other every other year, I could buy like whatever goods, nationally, but I buy goods internationally. I buy goods
Yeah.
internationally, and it's like more expensive every year. I'm like, what's happening? On Amazon, you'll see yourself going, am I going crazy? Or was Amazon telling me this was like $50 last year? Now it's like $100.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
For you, and that's kind of, I guess, my journey into like the whole Shadowverse when I was like, wait a minute, something's going on here. Let me go investigate, and that kind
I
of led
like
to it.
that. The Shadowverse. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. We use we try to be creative here. We try to use what YouTube does to make this place even better, as opposed to like I try to flip it, right? Always try to flip it, just like flipping,
Yeah.
just like when you go out and when you're on Amazon and you're
Excuse me.
flipping things on Amazon. Speaking of
That's what
flip,
I do.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
I do
flipping,
that.
yeah, that is what you do. I have a question. I have a couple questions about that. So for
Yeah.
you, my introduction to you really started when you were talking about flipping. And I believe it
Okay.
was way back in body language mastery in the chat when you just mentioned flipping. And
Yes.
at the time I was very interested in the process. What was your journey going from just like the regular Joe Schmo like me and everybody else into flipping on Amazon? What started that journey?
Um. Well, I was volunteering first at like a Catholic bookstore, um, and then after a while, I started working there. And then the owner had a flipping business, um, on the side. Like she would sell her inventory on Amazon, and so I became the manager of that bookstore. And she taught me all that. And so the moral of that is, it is good to volunteer. It is good to, you know, I think it's good to volunteer because sometimes you get a reward for it, right?
Right.
Um, and so then from there, I learned how to flip, and that's how I got really good returns during that year of COVID in 2020, because like everybody was scared to go outside, and people were buying stuff from like Walmart that I could just flip, like food, just like muffins and brownies and puzzles. Puzzles were flipping really good. Um, that year, like you could 5x your money on puzzles. So I was getting better returns flipping stuff, um, than crypto at times. Really, like that year, I was getting better returns. I was getting 2x's, 3, 4, 5x's, and I could do them pretty quick. So I was able to accumulate a pretty good hex bag. Um, so that's just lessons about like not being scared of the scam of COVID, because that was a lot of people's best years, was that COVID year. People really leveled up if you chose to do so. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely understand what you mean by that. I
Yeah,
lived
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I definitely lived it. You were
You
talking.
leveled up too.
Yes, I did. You flipped. You were talking about flipping from. So you're telling me you were flipping things
Hmm.
from the street. Like, you were just literally flipping. Is it real
From the
time?
street.
In the street, and you were turning it into hex. You were converting it into hex.
Yeah, dude. I was like rags. I was like really struggling financially, and like I was kind of in this like really serious monk mode too, to the point that like I didn't even want to work. Like I was like doing a lot of prayer and stuff, not to be stuffy or anything, but like
No.
I was just doing a lot of meditation and just like scouring YouTube for truth and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that I cut expenses to the point that I just like be in my car actually,
Mm-hmm.
just to focus on like this like search for truth. That I just wanted to focus on like scouring, the shadowverse, so to speak.
I love it. You went and flipped into hex, and now you have this amazing bag. And you were, and
Yeah.
you used that year, and you actually were doing the actual practice of you weren't just talking about it like a lot of people. Not to poo poo anyone, but you were actually doing the monk mode, like actually going out there. And
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. That's insane. Like I knew I knew you were a hard worker. I knew you had a lot going on. You were working on, but I didn't know I didn't know all this. This is a new level,
Yeah.
man. This is a surprise even to me. You see, guys, even in the live stream, you never know what can happen. So talk to me more about. I guess maybe we should go into hex. Speaking of hex, I guess now, one of the things that made me realize something. It was actually a hard truth for me. It was a big wake up call, which kind of ties into a question I'll ask in a minute. One of the big wake up calls for me to be more active in 2021, which just kind of changed my mindset about things a little bit, was realizing realizing that I think it was your success. It really was your success. I was like, wait a minute, Tom, his hex bag mooned. His hex bag mooned, and I was still of the mind that I had bought into the belief. Full disclosure, I've bought into the belief that it was a scam, that it was gonna rug, because I had already experienced a couple of rugs up until that point, so it was very what's the word I'm looking for? Fearful. You know, you had that fearful. When people are fearful, you be greedy. When people are greedy, be fearful. So I was very fearful myself, right? I'm like, I can't do another rug, can't do it. And it was a scarcity mindset moment for me, right?
Right.
But for you, you did the opposite. You said, I'm going even further more into the hex, and it rewarded, the universe almost like rewarded you back for doing so. You know, shout out to Art Suave. He said it best a while back. He said, I love that the fact that the ape degen strategy worked and it turned out to be the best strategy. And he was referring to you, and that was a shout out to Art. That was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, I agree. It was one of those things where if you, I guess the fear part for you, what was the thing that made you go, even though people are saying it's a scam, what made you believe in hex? Let's go into that.
Okay. I'm gonna say a couple things here. The first thing that made me get into hex, I'm gonna talk about the hex community, but also what I was doing in my life at the time. Like here in the red pill space, we tried different hats on. So during that time, like I recently, a moon ganger put me on mushrooms, and I tried magic mushrooms. I just put a pin in that to talk about that. But at that time, for the hex, I was praying the rosary a lot. I was doing, a form of meditation, and maybe like Wim Hof breathing, whatever. But I was praying the rosary a lot, and I was in kind of these manic states of mind that were higher vibration, to use that all the language, use all the buzzwords. I was in a higher vibration that wasn't the same place as other people, and then I was able to listen to the hexicans themselves, and I connected with them, I think, on more of a heart level, basically. To say like Richard Hart, right? Like I connected them on a heart level, and I was just able to see that, like, I was able to see that these are going to be people that are going to be around for the long haul. So it let me see the truth, because right now you can go and you can see people are staking millions of dollars for 15 years that they cannot get back. And that's been the case for the whole time. People were sending tons of money into the future that they could not get back. And if you're caught up in fear at all, like not that you have to like be a Bible thumper or something like me, but if you let fear control your mind, then you're gonna miss out on stuff at all, right? That's a pretty simple thing we can agree on, right?
Right. It really did reveal a lot. In fact, one of the things that woke me up was someone asked this, which is a very interesting question. Shout out to Artemis. This was Artemis's question. He said, I laugh at this because I know where he's coming from when he's asking this. He says, how does it make you feel when history is kind of rewritten by certain people when it comes to your original Hex Ape strategy? Because that there has been definitely some rewriting of history when it comes to your how you came about with Hex, like the credit to you being successful in Hex and being successful in the Shadowverse and the Shadow marketplace. I think Aleph, shout out to Aleph, he said it best. Some people are just taking credit for what you succeeded in doing, what you did for yourself. In my opinion, I watched you do it live. I was like, Tom is going all in on Hex. I don't know. And that was, again, a wake up call for me where I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, blah, blah, blah. Let's see how it works. And it worked out wildly, which I'm always of the mind of, see what's happening and what's working and learn from it, right? Learn from it. So I was learning from what you were doing, and it actually significantly helped me out in the end. Learning from just watching you do what you do. And so to go back to that question, how does it make you feel when someone is like trying to take like credit, or when history is rewritten by certain people when it comes to your strategy?
All right, I'm gonna say something that's not gonna stir up drama.
Right.
Because I really authentically feel this is like I feel called towards leadership, and so like I am like really touched that people are inspired by me, that I have any influence at all. So the people that were being like bigger leaders at the time, that I don't even know precisely who you're speaking of, and I don't necessarily need to know, because I feel like if it's people that I know that are being leaders, and we need leaders now more than ever, and we need people that like are projecting competence. And that includes YouTube, like your channel, what you're doing, like you're creating community. And so like, I mean, there's a place for drama for sure, but there's an art to it. And so what I just really feel genuinely right now is like, I don't know what that drama is that he's speaking of, but hello, Artemis. And Artemis is an amazing person. And he looks like a god or something, like the god Artemis, like blonde, beautiful god. Okay, like so I'm very like gracious that you're sticking up for me, sir, in that regard. And like, noted. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. But I do feel strongly that like if people are being leaders, like we really need leadership right now. We need to like all like try to. Donovan Sharp said it like to name drop Donovan Sharp, like he said, like, why can't the manosphere work together? And then another voice, not to just bring names into it, but another voice was like, well, you don't want to work with people that are jerks, like you don't want to force it either. So it's like a tension that we have, like, what are we going to do with this space? Like, what is this space going to become? Is it going to be like grifters, or is this going to become a community? Like, what is this space going to become? That's the question.
Right, that is a good question. Yeah, and I gotta respect that. I definitely respect that. I'm of the same mind as well. That's why I didn't name anybody. That's really great, bro. I really appreciate that you're taking the higher road to all this. Because it was definitely all you. You definitely against all odds. Okay, I'm gonna say that against all odds, it was definitely all you. Because I know a lot of people who had shaky hands, who got out, who were heavy in Hex, who got out. I know people who were heavy in Hex and got out because they didn't stake, but they had liquid Hex and they got out as soon as they watched some streams talk about how Hex is a scam or whatever, and that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's the nature of the game. People, get influenced by influencers, and it's even me. I'm not gonna say I'm like above it or whatever. I'm learning from it. I think that's the point of this whole journey, is to learn from this experience, right? To like you come in, you make mistakes. I've talked about this before. You make mistakes, get wrecked a little bit, learn from it, feel the sting of it, and then allow that to make you into a better person, a stronger person. And you seem to be doing that very well. I mean, I know you are, because we're talking about meditation, focusing. You actually did it last year in 2020, so that was really good, man. I appreciate it. To kind of go into, I do have a follow-up question regarding, you were talking about, flipping, local stuff into Hex and everything. I noticed you're into NFTs. You're collecting NFTs and flipping them. What was that journey like?
Well, again, if you're paying attention, and if you're if you're a believer, I keep on wanting to like say people's names. If you're a believer in stuff like NFTs, and then you see, there's celebrities getting into it, people are really making money on NFTs. You just have to jump in, and people even in NFTs are making millions of dollars, or at least quitting their jobs, some level of success, like I've had in NFTs. When you put the time in, you just have to put the time in, and the barrier of entry is going to be because you don't know anybody doing it, you've not seen anybody else succeed in doing it, and that's why we have to jump into it. So like I jumped into it, and I know for sure in the chat there's people that did way better than me in NFTs actually, but they weren't in NFTs, except that I was acting like a crazy person in the chat, making a bunch of noise about it. And right. I know for a fact there's people that made a killing on NFTs, like better than me. Like I did good, but people just made a killing because I really like pushed the chat in that direction. And that's why I don't get banned, because they know I added value, and that's the point. We add value in our own special way, we do the things we do to like get attention so we can add that value. It's about adding value to each other.
I agree. That's beautiful, man. I mean, you definitely do continue the community pushing forward. You definitely because every time I see Q4, there was a time where I was like, I look at Q4 and I'm like, Q4. But as time went on and I would look in Q4, that my mind had changed completely. I was like, you know what? I actually like reading Q4 a lot. And you're one of the reasons why. Like the community itself, that feeling of a community, the feeling of, the uplifting vibe, the higher vibe of like being in the marketplace and being pumped about being in the marketplace and making moves and making things happen. That's important. That's like the whole point of community building. And I think that's like what'll carry you through a lot of things in life. Really, I mean, you take that anywhere. You take that to church. You could take that anywhere. Is that something you learned from church, or is that something you learned from somewhere else in life?
Yeah, I did learn it at church until church. Like church is a good place to start, and I like stuck with it through adulthood to really understand what these red pill guys are talking about with. But now like, we're making new communities. Like we have to make new communities because the church isn't doing a good enough job, basically. So we have to take seriously our internet lives. Richard Hart just shouted out like the Moon Gangers in his last live stream last night.
Oh, really?
Because we're one of the big so Moon Gang was number 7 of Pulse Chain Sacrifice, and we might be even bigger for Pulse X.
Oh, okay.
So, you have to take that seriously. It could be, just like Richard Hart had a Strape chat, Moon Game could become something as big as Hex of itself. We don't know. And so I see Charlie and Miguel are taking a risk with, the sacrifice. I don't even want to talk about it too much, but they're trying to put trust. They're doing something right now that's like trying to trust the community, and it just takes one person to ruin it. I don't know. I just attended the meeting, and that's what they said. I just would say, we should take community more seriously here, and as much as we can, like try to treat each other like real flesh and blood human beings, as if we were seeing each other in real life.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I think that's one of the biggest problems with communities in general. Like that's why you see a lot of drama in like YouTube. And I mean, I don't know if you remember like 2019, but the summer of 2019, all I ever saw on my feed was just drama. That was another reason why I went heavy into into the RP, into the shadow market.
Yeah.
It was like a wake up call. I was like, people are being distracted over this stuff. Life is short. My entire recommends was like, this person did this, offended all these people, and I'm just like, what matter does it make at the end? What was achieved? What was achieved? So that's just like, okay, another distraction to waste your life, right? As opposed to like, was something built? Was something inspirational and stuff like that? It's just it's frustrating, honestly, but at least, it's one of those things you can learn something from, right? Just like anything else, at least you learn something from it, and you don't have to fall into that trap of like, it's almost like in that movie, The Matrix. Everyone's sleeping in that little cage. They're all sleeping in that little red cage, and you're awake and you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
And you're just looking around. You're like, man, look at all these people sleeping. Wow, that's sad. But that's kind of why I
Right.
kind of one of the reasons why I kind of like try to stay away from as much drama as possible. Speaking of NFTs, when you were talking about the NFT collecting and having faith in it and everything, what's something that what's like a go-to collection that you've been watching, something that you like? What was your like favorite NFT of the year so far? Like whatever collection you were looking at.
Um, I mean, my favorite was the Meerkat Millionaire Country Club on Solana, because I was in the pre-sale of that, and I had a cool synchronicity happen for you guys. Like you're trying to listen and like get inspired. So like my lucky number is 17 is one of my lucky numbers, and I saw the followers. So maybe you have a lucky number too,
Mm.
and maybe this sounds schizophrenic, but it worked for me. Is like I saw that the Meerkat Millionaire Country Club had 1717 followers. And so I was number 1717. And you could have like so that could happen for you too, because I got a 50x for it. I got a 50x on that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Solana definitely was another wake up call. I said, wow, this thing is taking off. What a freaking
Yeah.
amazing environment. The people in it too are great. As much as people want to poo poo NFTs, the people in NFTs is like the real treasure, in my
There's
opinion.
some great people, yeah.
Yeah, I have never seen so many nice people in my life. Like really, genuinely good people. Speaking of NFTs, I gotta say, are you interested at all in the whole metaverse thing? Is that something that you're looking into? Because I was looking at the metaverse over the last couple of months, and it's just like it's also another place where people are like having FOMO, not FOMO, but they have FUD about it. Like they're just like, I don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna work out. But I'm sitting there still thinking, looking back at everything else that had happened with NFTs and the shadow market, and I'm thinking this is gonna take off even more. What do you think?
Well, Yin, do you have NFTs right now?
I do.
Okay. Um, I mean, you're asking me questions, I guess. I just was curious.
Yeah, I
Um,
right now I'm actually like I have some basically I had some from originally when ETH went well, basically buying some from the old ETH store. Unknown
yeah.
artists was kind of like the my go-to strategy. People who just are kind of like they just started a following, so it was kind of like a long-term kind of strategy.
Mhm.
One of them actually, unfortunately, sometimes you'd never know. Like one of the artists, her name was Eureka. She just kind of vanished. So you never know what can happen. But at the end of the day, I buy it with the mindset of it's gonna like no matter what happens, no
Yeah.
big deal, right? Like I buy it knowing I'm throwing it into the ether. Whatever happens, happens. What's the term called? The phrase? It's never put in what you're not willing to lose. So I put in what I'm
Right.
willing to lose, and I buy like new people that are unheard of. I try not to go into Beeple or anything like
The people, yeah.
that. But you ever see those
That's
news
funny.
stories? A guy buys a Beeple for like $69 million or something like that, and I'm just like, what's wrong with you? That's the top, I think, as far as like certain artists. Like 69 million, is it gonna get 100 something million? I mean, it's just hard to like for me to fathom. Maybe I'm not a NFT expert by any means, so it is possible anything can happen. The guy could pass away and then his NFTs do a 5x from where he originally sold them at. It's just a funny time that we live in.
Yeah, bro, it's here to answer your question. It's definitely here, and yeah, there's so much glut of NFTs being printed,
Mhm.
but there's definitely some like I know the Meerkats. Um, so going back to the story, like I had the synchronicity. If you're listening, like you have synchronicities too, and
Mhm.
that's God and your angels guiding you. And who could get mad at that? Who could not like that?
Right.
We all have synchronicities. We have angels guiding us, but I like held it to the top, back to the bottom, which is just that's a lesson that like I learned. But I'm still up, is my point.
Mhm.
I'm still like multiples up on it, not 50x, but I'm also, like I think community is important, and so like I see Meerkats has a community, so So like you have to really learn the art and the science of those quick flips. So if you want to do NFT for quick flips, um, you want to flip it like that first day. Like that first day you buy it, flip it. Be a reptile, flip it. Because after that, it might be one that goes to the moon, but you kind of just have to have that reptile strategy of flipping it. You'll see people that they'll say like, I had a Boryoku dragon at 5 soul. I saw a guy say that I had a Boryoku dragon at 5 soul. And now it's at 100 soul. So you just, it's tough, but the point is either way, I'm up in my money, and you can be up in your money too. I think the people who did really well in the chat, better than me, were just traders, and you have to like learn to develop that lower nature reptile in you to be a trader, and that
Right.
sometimes that means you can recognize, like warm and fuzzy community features, like you can kind of predatorily because we have both natures, so we just have to learn to incorporate them. Okay, so the point is, yes, I made money in NFTs, you can make money in NFTs too. It's for real, it's here.
Do you for as far as like communities are concerned, when you go out there, what's like a go-to, like because somebody asked me earlier about this, to ask you, like, when it comes to like going out there and like on Twitter, for example, what's like a sign that you're like, okay, this is working out, I think this is of someone who's worth like, buying an NFT from, as far as like, or rather, what's a green light versus a red flag for you?
Okay, so this is to do with NFTs. We just had the SOS airdrop for the SOS token, and everybody in OpenSea just yesterday, like December 24th, these geniuses. This is why Web3, if you're on point, you can make so much money. They airdrop to everybody that ever did anything. They basically did OpenSea's job. OpenSea should have done an airdrop by now, so they kind of cucked OpenSea and did their own airdrop, and it's making a killing. But to answer your question of what to look for, when I posted a screenshot in Q4 chat, someone's like, "Is this legit?" And when it has just so many followers and so many likes on something, there's gonna be some autist that if there's something wrong, he's probably gonna become the town shrieker and let everybody know something's wrong. Like if you just see crowds, like this is a scenario where if you see a bunch of lemmings run off a cliff, like you don't follow them off the cliff, but there's just I can't think of something witty to say, but if you just see large amounts of people, like it's probably not a scam. Like
Right.
And use a burner wallet.
Right. Oh yeah, big time. That one I heard about. Always use a burner wallet. Because man, I didn't even know some of the security features could be violated like that. Like with MetaMask, it's kind of unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in now.
Let me say one more thing, Yin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. This is how this is how I did it. Like I just was very strict about my first NFT buys. Like say you go out and do Uber, okay? Like Hexagons are still doing Uber. People are still doing Uber to get cash from the crypto. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna get an easy 2, 3, 4x on whatever that Uber money is. But the point is, like, be very disciplined about buying your first NFTs until you get a win, and then from there, that first win. Like my first win was Sappy Seals on Ethereum. Like you might have seen Sappy Seals by now.
Yep.
Yeah, and so. And then I flipped that. So you have to I think you just have to be very disciplined about those first few wins and put like fiat that you earn directly. Otherwise, yeah, you'll just piss away all your, because that's the other thing NFTs will do is NFTs will get you to piss away all of your gains.
Yep.
So you always have to be buying, and you have to still, because I've been living off Hex this year, and the thing I learned is like I need to be working because it's a different mindset, and you'll piss away your gains if you don't have that discipline. Okay, does that make sense?
That absolutely makes, brother. That's literally what I was thinking about the other day when it came to like looking at my gains for the year. And I realized the harsh truth, which is, doesn't matter if it's almost like a different, you're right, it's almost like a different mindset. Like, you're not working for somebody else, you're literally working for yourself, in that you're trying to maintain your wealth, you're maintaining your security, your financial security, and you're not, it's almost like you're at the gym and you're just maintaining what you've already, what you've already worked on, right? As opposed to, like,
Yeah.
you're trying to build more. You're just now just trying to maintain what you already have by constantly, putting in new money, right? So then you don't
Right.
have to, you don't get wrecked, right? It's like, oh, I
Right.
lost whatever, but that was me going out there and working at, like you said, like Uber, or you flipped something from, I don't know, Value Village or Goodwill or whatever into Amazon or something, right? Or eBay.
Yeah.
I think that's like I think people have forgotten, or not forgotten. Maybe I think people, and I think maybe that's just a factor of the reality we live in now. They just have that mindset of, it has to be this way. It has to be this way, and they don't open their minds to a lot of other things, such as your situation when you were talking about how you were introduced to shrooms and mushrooms and everything like that. I have a follow-up question. Speaking of shrooms, do you do LSD microdosing by any chance? Somebody in the chat asked me that the other day.
Yeah. So a moonganger, who I'm brainstorming with this guy because he's very talented in understanding just different like supplements and stuff. But he introduced me to mushrooms. I did a gram of mushrooms, and that was an experience. And then I did 200 milligrams of LSD like about a week later. So I don't have, like, I wanted to microdose actually because I was scared, but for that first trip, you should take at least like my friend that introduced me to it, a fellow moonganger, suggested you kind of need to just plunge in. You need to have that plunge in experience of jumping off into the pool. You gotta just jump in. So take at least one tab, like 100 milligrams. I'm the opposite. Like I will just take tiny little bits, because I'm very paranoid. But he's like, well, if you know the person, so that's why it's important to have someone you trust as well. But you should just jump in for that first time. As far as microdosing, I don't do microdosing, but I think we've all seen the news articles that people have gotten. I got great results from a tab of LSD. Like that was good. Microdosing, I don't know. I haven't tried it.
What was your experience like? What was the trip like for the mushrooms? Like when you were like that the moonganger had introduced you to. What was that experience like? Like where did you go?
Yeah. It was very congruent with my monk mode actually. Like all like the rosaries and the stuff that I experienced when like I got into like religious mania. Like for me, all that was just groundwork that prepared me for the mushroom trip. And but again, like I saw just more like a fleshy side of life. Like I just saw, sex from a less stuffy point of view than what we get like in the church. Like sex is part of life, and people have sex, and I have like a lot of hangups, obviously, having been abstinent till 29, and then I decided, I'm not going to be a celibate. There's people that should be celibate. I think that's a beautiful discipline, but I think most of us here, like we are navigating the sexual marketplace, and I think the biggest thing is like it showed me to have fun about it. Like life is meant to be fun, and like life was meant to be for fun, and my Bible verse for that is that God created all things for his good pleasure. But you hear that in the midst of this very stuffy religious setting, and it doesn't really connect to what it means. Like life is supposed to be fun. So you'll notice that a lot of there's guys that are very much from a church background, and they just kind of, awakened, and for different reasons. But for mine, it's like life is supposed to be fun, and it's not going to always be like squeaky clean to fit inside those, those church boxes, and that's okay. because of that makes sense.
No, all of it, bro. You are speaking to the choir. This all makes sense, bro.
The choir, right?
Life really is short, bro. Listen, it's short, and then you die, right? Like you're born, you live, you
Yeah,
die, and it's a blink of an eye. The last two
right.
years have gone like warp speed. Not to, not to, not to like make this political, but it went like warp
Right.
speed with everything that was happening. My viewpoints of the world have completely flipped. Like I used to be a 9 to 5, like this is the right thing to do,
Right.
kind of an office slave kind of thing. Now I can't even stand the place. I look around myself. I say, look at all these sleeping slaves, man. I hate to say it like that, but it's one of those things you
It's
try to.
true.
Like, what's that?
It's true.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, oh, like it kind of actually like it's a real life realization of, oh, this is what people meant when they said life is short. Because I can't even think of
Right.
2020. It just was a blur, and 2021 was even faster. It feels like yesterday was January or February, right? It's
Yeah.
wild to me. So for me, as far as like learning, it's only, you know what, it's all good, because at the end of the day, you learn from it, right? You advance from it. You make
Yes.
something of yourself from it. So it's not like I'm. This is not a complaint coming from me, but it's just one of those things that I noted. I'm like, oh, this is what my old man said. My old man used to say,
Right.
"Don't give it away. No matter how bad times are, don't give it away. Don't give away your time. Like you use it, do things that you want to do, right? Do things that make sense to you, that you want to do, and don't fall into any of these traps of like doing stuff that you don't want to do. Just make sure you make life work for you, right? But follow up question on that, when you were talking about when you were talking about your time at the church, when was that moment that you were like, you realized for yourself that you kind of separated a little bit more from the church, as far as like going to the church, or rather not even going to the church, but rather like psychologically, when was that moment where you're like, I have to figure this out, figure things out for myself, basically? When was that moment when you said, I'm going my own way, I'm gonna figure this out myself? When was that specific moment? If you could recall?
Um, it's when you're 29 and you're a virgin and you did everything they told you to do, and you really did everything they told you to do, and you're not some reject, like they're like, not that, look, no. There's plenty of guys that like Squirmy and Grubbs and Nick Voljevic. There's plenty of guys that are like just there's like 3 stuntmen I could think of off the top of my head that got more sex than me and just were more fruitful for me, like you think Ricky on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
although I don't think he's married. That Nick guy, Nick Voljevic,
Mm-hmm.
that stump guy that has like a little chicken wing
Mm-hmm.
appendage. And then there's this guy on Twitter, Instagram, called Squirmy and Grubs, and that actually leads into the point that the church is such an anti-masculine environment that we have invalid men doing better sometimes than like a solid 7 male or a solid 6 male. You have invalid men doing better, and this is something I heard, like the oofy doofy theory. That's a little black pill, but the point is you do have to go your own way, because the church will chew you up and spit you out as a man. We're just at this point where that's the case, and I had to be near effeminate. I had to be like kind of effeminate just to stay in church. Like strong masculinity is just so potent. Or you'll end up having sex with all the women. I don't know. I just see that like a reformation needs to be taking place. That like, even though I came at the red pill, like what Rollo's been doing, it's just very much needed. And yeah.
Yeah,
Does that
man.
make sense?
That
I keep
makes sense.
saying that.
No, it's all good, bro. This is fine. Listen, this is for me. That is so potently true. Like I have witnessed so many times, like going to different churches and different, because I've tried it all. Like I've went to so many different, like
You've tried it all.
I've lived, well, not like, I'm not gonna say it like
Yeah.
as a like as a denigration, but rather the community, right? It's about the community, right? So I tried this
Right.
church, that church, I even went to a mosque, I went to a, you
Sure.
name it, right? A synagogue, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's about the community, and you're 100% right. Like if you see the community, what's happening on the surface is not coinciding with what's happening underneath. You realize, oh, I can't be here. The integrity is just not here. And then also on top of that, that double decker, which I hate to, like, again, this is not a slam against religion. Religion, there's nuance to it, right? Religion, the
Yeah.
idea, the stuff about it, the what it stands for, love it, right? Love it. Todd McFarlane, famous artist, once said, "I love all about the religion. I love the idea. It's just that the way it's being practiced, as far as community, is not the reality of what's really happening. What's happening, what you think is happening, is not what's really happening. It's just like this undercurrent of like something else happening. When you go there, you're like, that's not the way that the good book says, right?"
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure there's a community somewhere out there, or maybe there's a bunch of communities out there that actually do have a beautiful community. This has not been my experience. So, not to denigrate religion. I love religion. But anyways, going back to my main going back to my main point. It's like a long-winded way of saying you're absolutely right. It's kind of like a eye-opening thing, and that's when I realized something's going on that I need to figure out for myself, going my own way. And when you went your own way, and you decided to even on top of that do your own channel. Speaking of which, because I want to get into the topic of your channel, because it's a very important topic as far as like you growing and becoming something even further, even greater than you were before. When I originally saw you, one of your videos, and I knew something was special about you, was when I saw that video, Jesus Unleashed. I think that was like the potent moment. I was like, this moment is like the content in there. It wasn't just the title. But it was what the topic was about, what you were putting on the channel, what your comments were about the video, and kind of like that combination that created there's almost like this level of, it's almost like religion, but on steroids, and it's also got the positivity behind religion. And I think that's the most important part. People forget. A lot of people, when they do religious talks or whatever, you see just the stuffiness, just like you said. It's the stuffiness. It's the lack of humanity behind it. Like, they don't want to let you know about themselves. They don't really open up, and you open up. You're just like, here I am, take me as I am, and
the power. Having a form of godliness but denying its power. I made a killing on Hex. I made a killing on NFTs. I have crazy supernatural things happen. People in our community get rich. People in our community are decamillionaires. People in our community have the power to get laid if they so choose. It's power. Like, beware, it says in the Bible, in the book of Timothy, beware those in the last days preaching a form of godliness but denying its power. So like, I just got a little like fired up about that, because as men, we are supposed to be powerful. Like, Yin, you're powerful. Me, Tom, I'm powerful. Like, your channel needs to blow up. You need to get paid for it. My channel needs to blow up. I need to get paid for it, because we're meant to be harnessing power as men, and everyone doesn't want us to have it, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get our power, and you'll see, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be really good. Just you wait and see.
Yeah, man, I love it. This is great. The upbeat attitude, the positivity behind it, the power is definitely there, my friend. I love this.
Thank you.
My final question for you today. Someone asked about the what was it? I gotta straight up go up to the top. Someone was asking about, so when you went about, just to preface this a little bit, so when you started this journey and where you ended up currently, right? It's a whole adventure. You went through a whole process, a whole change, a whole mindset change. Because I remember you in Biolanguage Mastery, and even then, there's a big difference between that Tom and and you now, right? It's a whole different guy in a good way, in a good way. And then where do you see for your channel, like as far as like we talked about, going further and reaching out to different communities? What the question here is, where do you see the next adventure, the next future for Tom Bombadil? What is what are you doing what are your plans for tomorrow? Like for your, not tomorrow, like literally, but for the future of your channel, like what do you see yourself doing on your channel? Like what kind of topics you want to talk about? What interests you? Just to kind of get people interested in your channel. What interests you that you want to talk about in the future for your channel?
Thank you for saying that I changed. If you don't look at the person you were 6 months ago, and see a big difference, then you're not growing, right? And like you have to, so for my channel, I'm just gonna start throwing shit against the wall again and seeing what sticks, because life is short, like we said. And I've sit on my hands a lot, and if you're listening to this, you're very much a 1%er in some form or fashion. I think if you're listening to our voices, and it's time to go. I had people tell me go for years, and we're in a state, in a predicament that people are not taking action. So number one is just taking action. And it's crypto, for me, my Christian background, red pill topics, these are all very pertinent. Like I don't know, like how I'm not going to go do a martyr complex, because one of the things right now is you do have to kind of gauge just how hard you want to go. Like, do you want to go all against, do you want to fight the algorithm of YouTube? No, but you want to make yourself, like, I'm not going to get banned off of YouTube because I talk about the stuff that's just like, I'm not going to talk about like the medical BS, because that's just something that's just out of my hands at this point.
Right.
I'm not going to fight that beast. Like there's certain fights I'm not going to fight, but I am going to get out there and fight at this point. So yeah, crypto. Look, I was sitting in church, and they would say, like, there's a big wealth transfer, like these like prophetic people, like there's a big wealth transfer company, and it's here. It's crazy. I get anxiety every day.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, God, like, should I just be like working at all hours of the day? Like, should I be thinking of a more strategic way to get money?
Yep.
Like how, like relationships, life is happening, like this is happening, it's moving. And I like to believe that the world is getting freer, money is flowing more, but still, like you gotta get to work and catch what's flowing now.
Yep.
Because we don't really know, if it's going to be the Bitcoin time traveler future. You don't know. Like, you don't, like, I believe, in the world getting better, but get to work either way and get that money, because it's flowing right now. And part of that is, it's like, I'm going to try to build. I had someone say that, like, I would be, when I was earlier this year, like, making my crazy manic videos, which I call, they were manic videos, religious mania. Someone messaged me from childhood, and they're like, God showed me you're going to be the leader of a church. So, and I think a lot of guys in this sphere are doing church in so many words. I saw the latest Rule Zero, be described as church by Aaron Clary, who's the son of a pastor. Okay, I'll say that because a lot of people have a religious background, and I think, like, not to make it stuffy, like, this is not, because men won't put up with it. You won't get any views if it's stuffy. Like, men want the real thing, they want power. But I just noticed a lot of these men, have been around the block, and so now we're forming these communities, and it's very important, and we need it more than ever. And if you feel like starting a channel, start a channel right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. That's why, like, you're helping me so much to just have someone to talk to try to focus it at all, because there's so much need out there. I see all the need that we have, that we just need to get out there and we just need to get working. Basically, we just gotta move.
Yeah, man, I love it. This is there's so much gold nuggets in there. I'm gonna be watching this again.
Me too.
Basically, the thing man, there was a lot in there. Men, you're right, 100%. Men won't take it if it's stuffy, and it's the reality. Because men living a life of the life of a man is a harsh life. It's a harsh life. It's very stringent. There's a lot of hard truths you wake up to. A lot of cold realities you have to acknowledge and face. You can't just go back to sleep into the matrix or whatever. Just not to bring out too many analogies, but you can't go back to bed again. You can't go back to sleep again. A lot of the things you see as a man are in front of you all the time. There's not that society net like we talked about before. It's not a net of safety for you necessarily as a man. You have to accept it, and you have to you have to be okay with it and make that a part of your reality and a part of your life and thrive under that, right? That's kind of why I think why we kind of find an aversion to the stuffiness. We kind of smell it out. We kind of sniff out BS. Not to pardon my French, but and that's probably because, and that's probably why it's harder for us to it's harder to sell to us, right? We're a harder customer to sell to, and I think that's why in my opinion, not to that's kind of a conspiracy theory, but I think that's kind of why the marketplace, as far as like the general economy, big companies, the commercial ads you see, they tend to be a lot more geared towards feminine, right? A lot more towards oh, you can eat this big giant ice cream container all at once and everyone will still love you. Don't worry about getting big. It's like, well, that's not reality.
It's not reality.
That's not reality. We got to live with reality. You have to be healthy for yourself. I mean, even more now than ever, this past 2 years has proven, it's like a huge proven reality. Like, here, you gotta be healthy or you're not gonna live too long. You know what I mean? Not to be grim, but like going back to my main point, I think for a big part of your channel, I think that's the big draw in is going to be, no matter what you throw on the wall, is the fact that you're going for it. You're going for it with the same message, the same mindset, right? The same energy, that high octane, like positive energy. For me and my channel, I'm just trying to become like a beam of light where people can just kind of come here and you'll see some, I mean, obviously we'll see some dark stuff, but that whole point is there is a light for it. There is a light in the darkness, right? There is a positive thing you can take from it, which is, you having control over yourself, over your life, over, all the things that you appreciate and you love, right? Taking control of your life, taking control of your finances with the shadow market, not going in and becoming a bank slave, an office slave. Everybody's trying to make you a slave. It's kind of like, I know that sounds really dark when I say it like that, but it's kind of the truth. True. You go somewhere and somebody's trying to take either your time or your energy or your whatever. Everyone wants to sell you something, right? So I think for your channel, I think you're going to do great because you have that ability to become a light, right? Becoming the light, becoming something where people can actually learn something from, but also when they come to your channel, they take something positive out of it. It's not just the learning part, because anyone can be a teacher. There's thousands of channels that teach you all sorts of stuff, but the problem is there's no light in there. It's soulless. You ever notice that? There's so many channels that are soulless. It's just it's one of those things. Have you noticed that, by the way? Is that something that you've like kind of is that something that gets you to walk away, like when you see a channel that's like it's got good information, but on the other hand it's like the information is presented in a way that's just like they're dead inside, you know what I mean? Do you see that around you?
yeah I mean, it's more and more, it's very intuitive for me too, that like I just and you have to be considerate about whether like you just maybe don't connect with them. You have to consider that as well. But and also, like until I make it as a channel that's monetizable, and I'm at the point where I don't care what it is, because these churches are businesses too, because they just have to be, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But until I get to the point that like my channel is making money, like I'm also suspending judgment and trying to like explore that soullessness that you speak of, because I feel it too, brother. Like not not in the least do I think you're wrong, but I'm also like, but what do I need to learn? You know, like what is me judging them, and what is me, what is soulless, but also what do I need to learn to actually make my channel succeed? And I'm, because to succeed, like you, something John would say in body language mastery, like you can't stay the same person you are, and I don't want to become a demon, not that he's a demon, but like I don't want to sell out, but at the same time, like, as you become an adult, we're learning about these dark truths of the world and what makes the world tick. And if anything, I want to try to bring as much light into that as I can, and I just like you said, I want to be a light as well. So we're gonna do it all, baby. We're gonna, we're gonna uncover all the shadows and collect all the chaos emeralds, and we're gonna win it. We're gonna win at life, baby.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for your time. I really appreciate
Yes.
it. I'm looking forward to seeing you grow and become an amazing, like, futuristic channel, like unlike anything I've ever seen. I actually hit. I always have the notification bell on for you because it's something I know I can't miss that stuff. But anyways, thank you again, my man. Is there anything you wanna shout out to the chat or anything that you wanna promote? That you want people to know about?
Yeah, just hold me accountable if you if you want. You feel free to go on my DMs and say, Tom, like, do this, or you could do better. Like, feel free to hold me accountable. I'll hold you accountable, and we'll see. We'll watch each other grow.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. And folks, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here, and I'll talk with Tom for a little bit. And you guys have a great Sunday. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you, and Happy New Year as always. Okay, guys. Bye bye.